Alright guys, welcome back to part 2 of my little chopper tutorials. Today we're going to be going over some defensive strategies, some basic aiming stuff, and then we'll get on to offense and actually shooting at some stuff. Figured I'd start this one by showing what I actually run on the scout chopper. I always run 25mm cannons pretty much no matter what. Usually heat seekers, unless there's a map that doesn't have a whole lot of other air support, or your team's just doing a really good job of keeping the other team suppressed. Then you can turn on laser guided and start going for tanks and stuff. But for basic chopper on chopper fights, I like to keep heat seekers. Countermeasures, I like flares. ECM jammer just does not work for me. It fails way too often to rely on it, so I just stick to flares. They seem to work fine. Normally I would run stealth coating. With the amount of lock-ons in this game, you almost have to run it. It's absolutely ridiculous. Or you can run, if you have a team that's repairing you, can run gyro stabilizer. That will help you keep in the air. It's a little bit easier with that, but if you're flying solo, stealth coating is probably going to be your best friend. For this demonstration though, I'm just going to be using belt feeder. Yeah, just a quick tip, don't use some white bright camo. It is really easy to see across the map, so I usually just stick with the default, unless you're just feeling flashy, you know, whatever, do what you want. Alrighty guys, now for some basic defense. Usually the best defense is just hiding. As soon as you hear a lock or anything, just try to get to cover. Buildings work great, sometimes trees work great, you know, just whatever you can find. Oftentimes if you can just get behind kind of a hill, stingers and lock-ons will run into the other side of it, so that's usually your best choice, is to hide. And I like to go into third person, whenever I'm hiding. It gives you a better idea of where the building is and how close you can be to it. It's kind of disorienting being in first person. This way you can see how close the building is, and you can see where your tail is, more importantly. If you land your tail on the ground, you will explode, so just keep that in mind. Now on to, if you're out in the open, you're not going to be able to get away, obviously. X is flares, so when you hit those, just let that buy you some time, and get to cover. The flare region is super slow in this game. You can see it there on the left. It says wait, IR flares wait. So just remember, it's going to be a while before you have flares again. Alrighty, so the next little bit is if you pop your flares, you're trying to get away, maybe you're getting double locked or something like that, you just can't get away, you're going to take a hit. So let's pretend like we just took a hit. You're going to do this kind of spin of doom, and the best way to deal with that is just to spin with the way that the chopper wants to go. It's basically going to disable one way. When you get disabled, you're going to get disabled and not be able to turn one way, so basically it's just best to turn into that spin. Once you get control of the chopper again, try to fly away to cover. This is a big tip. If you're running NG, hit F2, switch to your repair torch, repair yourself, keep going, and that just takes a little bit of practice to get used to. Also you can do it in F3, it doesn't really matter, but that's always an option if you don't have a place to land, just need to get away. You can always rep yourself a little more if you need to. Obviously the best option is to get back to cover and be able to rep yourself while you're not in the air, so they can't shoot you while you're still weak. So just do what works best for the situation. Alrighty, the next little bit is going to get into offense, and for starters we'll just go over basic aiming in the chopper. You'll have two crosshairs, and it just depends what angle you're coming at as to where the the bullets are going to go. The best tip I have is just to look where the bullets are going on your screen, where the tracers are, and adjust your fire accordingly. The best way to really figure it out is just to practice. There's no real way to predict it until you just kind of get a feel for it. So practice, practice, practice on that one. But as far as basic aiming goes, I like to get a rough aim with the keyboard. So I'll go in, get my crosshairs in the general area with my keyboard, and then go in and with my mouse and finish off. So I still have trouble with, I'll get into this kind of wonky thing where I go back and forth with the A and D keys trying to, get my aim on. When in reality, I could just lined up a shot and then just let my mouse do everything else. So that is the very basics of aiming. Alright, now for taking care of infantry. I kind of think of it as having a big LMG mounted to the front of your chopper. Sure, you can spray and you will get some hit markers, but unless you actually take out and choose an individual target, you're going to have a hard time hitting anything. So even if you get a big group, I mean, I've done it 100 times where I see a big group of people and I just kind of spray all around and I don't end up getting a kill. But if you just take your time, pick out an individual target, make sure he's down, then move on to the next one, and so on and so forth. Just remember, it's like aiming a gun. Sure, it has more splash damage, but you will get a lot more kills if you actually take the time to pick a target out and take them out and then move on. Now when it comes to tanks, always remember to stay above them. You don't ever want to go straight in front of them or get at an angle where they can shoot you with their cannon, or even their gunner can start blinking at you, because that will take you down without you even noticing the gunner on a tank. So just be careful. Usually I just try to stay away from tanks unless my team is helping as well. They've got a few RPGs on them or something like that. Then you can come back through and take them out, but they do eat a lot of bullets, so just keep that in mind. As far as AA goes, I just avoid it. Don't even try to bother with it. It's so overpowered in this game that you're just not really going to get anywhere unless they're just absolutely not paying attention. So just avoid them, and you will be alright. Alrighty, when it comes to the heat seekers, what I like to do is try to draw flares or countermeasures out of people. Obviously this little UAV doesn't have countermeasures, but I'll try to lock them, wait for them to shoot flares. You'll lose your lock for a second, go back in, and those rockets do 30 damage apiece, except to transport helicopters. So if you're on like a little bird on little bird fight, remember that's 60 damage you just put into them, then go back with your 25mm cannons and finish them off. And obviously dogfights are really hard to predict. That's another thing that just takes practice. You can't just practice that on an empty server. You're actually going to have to go in and get in a few dogfights to figure out best strategies, and it really just depends on how good the other pilot is as well. So that one, that's real world practice only, pretty much. Alrighty, and I think that's about it for part 2 of the chopper tutorials. I know this has been very basic, and a lot of you probably knew a lot of this stuff already, but let me know if there's anything I missed, or if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll do my best to answer them. And let me know if you want to see any more videos like this. I'd be happy to make them. Anyway, thanks for checking out the video, guys.